Everything was getting challenged in me, my belief system, my behavior, how I walked, how I talked, how I dressed.
What that time limit is meant to show you is like how quickly you can move ideas into form.
It's not having 10 marbles and going to 11. It's at a minimum having 10 marbles and going to 20. Having 10 marbles and going to 120 marbles. And that's what the 30-day year is.
And you know, sometimes ignorance is your friend through this whole thing, because like, it does seem wildly, I guess, irresponsible maybe to like quit your job right as your wife has a baby.
And now you're getting into deafness of purpose work. Now you're getting into like life's work. You're looking way further out. Most people never look beyond the end of their nose. Hi, I'm Dave Conway, and I'm here with my wife, Jacqueline. Welcome to the 30-day year. On this podcast, we're sharing stories, ideas, and philosophies to show you what it takes to turn your annual income into your monthly income. I've learned that the first step to creating a 30-day year is entertaining new ideas that might at first appear strange or even laughable. But stick with us as we reveal that this idea is a very real way to build success. Our plan is to spark curiosity into what you're capable of achieving by exploring ideas around freedom, contribution, work, life, everything. The content may even disturb your perception of life a bit too, which we hope it does. This podcast is not about us. It's all about you. So sit back, relax, and come in with an open mind. Welcome to the 30-day year.
We're going to talk about goals today and the purpose of them. So tell me, what is a goal?
A goal is simply an idea. It's an idea, something that you want. So not every idea is a goal, and not every want is a goal. So, like, for example, if you said to me, "Hey, Dave, like, let's go dye our hair pink tonight," I'd be like, "Yeah, not really into that idea. You know, green maybe, but not pink, you know." So that's an idea that I would reject. I wouldn't want it. So when an idea becomes a want, right? So it's like, ooh, if you said to me, "Hey, Dave, all right, well, let's go for a nice steak dinner tonight." I was like, yeah, I like that idea. So then I'm presented with an idea, and then I accept it, and I therefore become a want. But a goal is different. A goal is an idea or a want that you actually want, where you say to yourself, I'm going to trade this being your current results, for this. So I'm going to trade earning $10,000 a month for a life of earning $100,000 a month. That would be an example. Mm-hmm. And so the degree of the energy or the degree of the motivation directed behind the idea, that's what would constitute a goal. So a lot of people think that they set goals, but they're not goals. They're just general wants. And goals are one of the most misunderstood words in the English language. Most people, if you went up to someone, "Hey, what's a goal?" You know, they might say, "Oh, it's an objective. It's this." You know, you go to the dictionary and you get other answers. But at the end of the day, a goal is just an idea. It's an idea that you want to move from your head into your life.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. And you're saying that the degree of motivation for an idea would probably indicate how much you really want it. But like some of these like ideas you shared, like dyeing your hair pink or going for a steak dinner, those aren't very big ideas. Like I would expect that a goal is a big idea that's then motivated by something much stronger, like desire.
Yes and no. Like any idea that's accepted will constitute a goal. So if you accept an idea, that idea now will start to move you in that direction. So as small as I'm going to make the bed today, and if I accept that idea, then my body will move into motion and I'll start to make the bed. Mm-hmm. If I don't accept that idea, then I'm not going to make the bed. Right.
But isn't a goal much bigger than that? Isn't a goal just like a bigger thing we're going after? Not just day-to-day things?
No,
you don't think so?
I don't think so. No, because there's all different degrees of goals. Like there's three kinds of goals. So there's sustaining goals. Mm-hmm. So that would be, for example, like let's say you've worked really hard and you got your income up to $100,000 a year. And you're like, wow, you're proud of yourself. And you're like, ooh, like I kind of like this $100,000 a year lifestyle that I've created for myself. And someone said to you, hey, what's your goal? And you're like, you know what? Just give me $100,000 again next year. Like, I'm loving this. So that would be a sustaining goal. You just want to sustain what you've created.
Is it even a goal then, if you're just sustaining?
Well, it would be, because a goal is just simply an idea that you want. If you look at that as the definition of it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, fair.
Now, it wouldn't constitute any growth.
Right.
It would be a sustaining or a preserving goal.
Okay. Like a preserving goal.
Yeah, like you've already accomplished it and you just like to experience it again, right? Right? And it's a very common way of goal setting. Like it's the large majority of people actually do unconsciously set their goals like that.
I think it goes back to just our human nature for safety. You know, like we've evolved out of the cave. We're not being chased by lions and tigers anymore. And so much of our lives, I think sometimes we're just in the act, as you say, of preserving. So like we get ourselves to a point, like we're raised by our parents, we go to school, we like are educated in order to get a job so that we can support ourselves, so that our parents don't have to support us, so that we're then kind of like safe. And that kind of stops for lots of people.
Yeah, it's a very common form of goal setting. Whether the person is goal setting consciously or unconsciously, we are all goal setters. We're either unconscious or we're conscious of it. We're self-determining or we're being determined. Our self is being determined by something else.
Yeah.
So that would be the first form of goal setting. So that would be sustaining goal setting. The second form, if a person leaves that kind of goal setting, they're going to go into additional goal setting. So this would, for example, be, all right, I earn $100,000 a year. It's like, you know what? Earning 110 would be pretty sweet. Like, wowee, you know?
Just so I can pay it all to tax.
Yeah, exactly. And some people even don't do goals because of taxes.
Well, honestly, that's so brutal, isn't it?
Oh,
but
it's terrible.
Like the tax system does hold us back in so many ways.
It's interesting.
Anyways, different talk show.
Yeah,
different.
That's on the
topic.
conspiracy theory podcast.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if a person leaves that form of goal setting, they'll go into like additional goal setting. Another example could be
So what you mean by that is just like growth by addition.
Yeah, growth by addition. So it's like, for example, too, let's say you and I, Jack, we go to Mexico this winter.
Yeah.
And we go for like 2 weeks and we just have like a blast. We got our kids there, our girls, Abby and Lily.
Yeah.
And like, we're like, this is so great.
Yeah. Having a hoot.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And then we start thinking like, you know what? That Mexico trip was so much fun. Imagine if we could stay next year for 3 weeks.
Whoa. That'd be intense.
You're like, wow, darling, that's such a good idea. And I said, I know, honey. And then we just love in the idea. And then we're like, let's do it. Let's set the goal. So, and then we start making sacrifices. So maybe we work a little longer. Maybe we start not eating out as much. And we start to like cinch the belt a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's to achieve that experience. So it's like a form of sacrifice. So that is additional goals where we're trying to take what we've got and we're just trying to add a few more things into it, add little things. And I think this would also, like, I think people might call this kind of goal setting like smart goal setting, which I call dumb goal setting. But, you know, like, I'm just not into being small. I just not. I think every human being can grow as large as they desire.
Yeah.
So why not give her hell for leather? You know, we only live once, so they say. When a person...
Different talk show.
Yeah, that's a different one. That, my friends, is...
we got to start more podcasts.
Then the third kind of goal setting is which the 30-day year philosophy is baked into.
Yeah.
That is multiplication goals.
So you're saying growth by multiplication.
That's right. So doubling, tripling, quadrupling, 12xing.
Right. Okay.
Our
cool.
results. So quantum leaping, like at a base minimum will be a double. It's not adding one more. It's not having 10 marbles and going to 11. It's at a minimum having 10 marbles and going to 20. Having 10 marbles and going to 120 marbles. And that's what the 30-day year is. And we talked at an earlier podcast. So if you haven't listened to the podcast on purpose, I would strongly recommend you go back and listen to it. Because on that podcast, we talk about how the universe is constantly in a state of multiplication. Like compound over compound is the mathematics of the universe. and it's biblically stated. It's stated by modern teachers, like big financiers like Ray Dalio talks about the BHAG and many others. The Magic of Thinking Big by Zwartz. This has always been told to us to set big objectives.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger say the same thing. He says you got to have a vision. You know,
right.
like you got
yeah.
to have a
That's
vision.
how he credits his success.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's of the opinion that you're wasting a life if you don't. And I don't think he's wrong in that. So we have infinite potential, but how do we access this potential? It's actually through the goals that we set. So if you want to imagine,
I like that.
If you want to imagine like the ocean, let's say the Atlantic Ocean, and that's the infinite potential, and then you and I are just a little straw.
Yeah.
Right? And you can let little bits of that ocean drip through the straw, but the bigger the straw would constitute the bigger the goal. So as you're never going to drain the whole ocean with a straw.
No, never.
Right? Especially not in one lifetime, maybe infinite lifetimes or eons, right?
Yeah.
But you can choose how big that straw is. So you can choose how much life moves through you. Mm-hmm. So when you start to understand what a goal is your source of life. Like in the Bible, it says, without a vision, the people will perish. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to like croak, just drop dead because I don't have a vision? No. Look around. Most people, it's like, they call it the attack of the killer sheep or all the zombie movies. Like people aren't thinking. They're not really function with a vision. Mm-hmm. And I lived like that for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Really long time. And when you start to understand that your life is moving through the ideas you consent to, that's where you get your energy. So here's an example. Let's say, Jack, you have it's just like the hardest week at work. Like it's just brutal week, stressed out to the max.
Yeah.
And it's Friday and you come home from work. Mm-hmm. Now, what is something like around the house that you hate?
Oh, cleaning the bathroom.
Okay.
I hate that.
Okay. So imagine like you come home, hardest week of your life at work. Mm-hmm. You come home and when you walk in the front door, I've got like a mop and a bucket and I've got like some rubber gloves there and I've got like some Windex and some cloth. And I say, oh, hey, babe, yeah, just I'm going out with the boys tonight. Going to go have a few beers and watch the game. The 4 bathrooms need to be cleaned. And if you could just get to work on that, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
I would murder you.
Yeah. You would take that plunger and just
I would
beat me to
turn
death.
right back around and drive away.
Yeah. And you're like, my God. And then you'd call your girlfriend like, he's at it again. He's treating me down.
Yeah, I would not be into that.
You would hate that.
I would hate it.
Now,
yes, I would hate it.
What is something, Jack, that you love?
I love
Like a
I love
dinner,
really like nutritious, lovely meals.
Okay.
I'm a creature of habit. I like watching my favorite shows like all the time. Like I love like Parks and Rec and Downton Abbey and stuff like that. Like I watch them all the time. You know this. What else do I like? Yeah, I like chilling. I like karaoke. I like doing all those fun things. Yeah.
Right. So let's say you come home the hardest work week ever.
Yeah.
You come home and your knight in shining armor, which is me, is at the door, and you come in and I've got your slippers there ready for you. And I say, hey, babe, got the bath running upstairs. Why don't you go up, have a bath, just relax, got your favorite music. I'm making, the meal is on. I've got the most beautiful dinner ever for you. The kids, I sent them out, so they're with the grandparents for tonight. And around 8 o'clock, your best friends in the world, you love them to pieces. They're coming over, going to have a little bit of a karaoke session. I know you had a stressful week, but why don't you go relax? I'm going to feed you all your favorite stuff. And then the gals are coming over for a karaoke. Okay. Would you love that?
Of course. Like, I'm hoping that you're saying that you did this for me tonight.
So, what's the difference? The tough week is the same. Mm-hmm. So what's changing your attitude? Where are you changing the energy to do the thing? What's changed?
Well, just the circumstance, I guess.
The circumstances are the same
Well,
because you came out of stress week. It's the desire to do it.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Yes. My desire to have a bath and karaoke is much stronger than to clean the bathrooms.
That's right.
Right.
So one fills you with anger and disappointment, and the other one fills you with joy and serenity and excitement. So it's the thoughts. It's the thoughts that do it. We derive, almost imagine like that a thought in your head, and there's like an electrical cord, like a utility cord, and you plug into that cord, and that's where you get all your energy from. So if you're doing unenjoyable things that you don't enjoy doing, your energy, you'll have a bad attitude. And I lived like that for a long time. But if you start living a life that's very enjoyable and you start solely doing things that you enjoy,
Right.
you're gonna get a leg up on life because you're gonna become a person that is experiencing joy. And that's the difference in goals. Most people set goals for the most part because they think they have to do them or they don't allow themselves to go out further. So in the 30-day year, it's pure fantasy form of goal setting. Like, how do I really want to live?
Right.
What am I capable of? And you will find that you'll start to get a lot more power.
Right. So are you almost saying then that a 30-day year goal is, in fact, maybe more of a vision? Or are you saying that you are distilling? Because I know in your form of goal setting and when we teach seminars, there's always, a time limit. We like to give people 12 months, like set a goal and set the time at 12 months. So is that kind of where you're coming at it from? Or are you thinking more like much bigger than that and then choosing something in the next year to tackle? Like, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, like the 30-day year idea is to take your annual income and turn it into your monthly income. You always put a 1-year time limit on everything,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
One thing I do notice then is that, like, if you're going to put a 1-year time limit on it, I think what that time limit is meant to show you is like how quickly you can move ideas into form. And so, like, you've shared on other episodes that it took 31 months, which is what, just shy of 3 years,
Yeah,
to
2.5 years.
to create a 30-day year. So, but you had the same goal on a goal card for as long as it took to create it. Although you wrote it out the first time, you didn't hit it in a year.
Yeah, so what a goal is like when you actually set a real goal, what you're doing is you're making an agreement. So you're saying that I'm going to commit the next, if I put a time on it, which I recommend people do, so I'm going to commit the next 12 months of my life to having a 30-day year. I'm going to commit the next 12 months of my time, my mental energy, my resources, my money, my development to this idea.
Yeah.
Right? So I forget the man that said it, but the quote goes, I'm grateful for the ideas that use me.
Right.
So
this is just an idea. A 30-day year is just an idea. In fact, a goal is actually baked right into the name of our show.
That's right.
'Cause
Yeah,
really,
goals are the most important thing in a human being's
so
life.
the goal that you're advising anyone to take at this exact moment is to 12x your current results.
That's right. And then when you cross that 12x, well, then guess what? You're going to have to go again.
You have to go again.
That's right. Because the purpose of a goal is not to get. The purpose of a goal is to grow. The purpose of a goal or ideas is how much of this ocean is going to move through you.
Right. Okay. So we all have access to the ocean is what you're saying.
You know, those are like juice boxes as a kid, and you have that little teeny weeny straw that you have to poke.
Yeah,
poke
oh
a hole
yeah.
in the top. Or
Sure,
whatever.
for sure.
Yeah, that's like most of our straw.
So in this case, is the ocean money?
It could be money. It could be any. It's potential.
It's
It
potential.
could be money.
Okay.
It could be love. Could be. It contains everything. This ocean,
Okay.
right?
Well, can I just, grab a few barrels of it then? I mean,
Well, you'd have to distribute it. So
To distribute
the
it,
problem
okay.
is you're always just a distribution center of it. Like you can't drain the whole ocean because it's infinite, because that's infinite potential. So your goal setting is what you choose to allow.
well, the
to
goal
flow
then
through.
is the straw.
The goal is the straw.
This is cool. So that's what's really interesting about this whole thing, this 30-day year idea, this philosophy, is that the goal is baked right into the very name.
Yeah, we're tricking everybody into
tricking everybody.
becoming more than what they are. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Pushing them around a
yeah.
little
Well,
bit.
just tricking them into dreaming bigger.
And if anyone is skeptical, just suspend the skepticism. Remember to stay open about this. Because it's a stretch. To think that you're going to 12x your income is a stretch.
Yeah, honestly, there's so many people that, like I've done it, I have lots of friends that have done it. We have lots of clients that have done it. Like,
Yeah.
it's become so common in our world that, you know, you don't even need to be a skeptic. Just come and try it out.
Yeah. Just play
So a
with
lot
it.
goes into it. That I won't argue, but it all does start with the goal. Like,
Yeah.
setting that goal. So that's what it is. It's like, what straw? You're going to have a big gulp straw? That would be like a 30-day year straw over the smaller
Right.
little straw.
That's right.
But understand that your potential is infinite.
Right.
And that's where we were
Okay.
talking about purpose in one of the previous episodes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So it's also really important to, like, I guess, emphasize that this isn't about like instant gratification. This isn't about a quick win in 30 days. This is about a long-term like unfoldment, this 30-day year thing. And we don't know how long it's going to take. And we have to be prepared that we're going to come up against a lot of things. Like, I imagine that things can get lodged in that straw every now and then.
I don't know if you need to be prepared. I think you just got to know.
You got to
things are gonna
know
happen.
things are going to happen.
Yeah, challenges.
Yeah.
Could be pushed to the limits, no question.
So how do you work through the challenges? Like, how do you persevere? How do you go, keep going when it gets tough?
Well, I guess I don't want to keep saying this, but again, like if you go back to the episode on purpose, it's like you need to have that thing that's bigger. I think, there'd be books written, start with your why, right? I don't really know if maybe I'm not understanding everything those people are saying, but I'm like, well, who cares about the why? I just do it because I want to do it. Are you free to live how you want to live? Because at the root of all this, what we're really talking about is personal power to become free. Mm-hmm. And freedom is mental. Mm. Even the idea of financial freedom is a ridiculous idea, actually. Freedom is mental. Mm-hmm. I've met people that are multimillionaires that I would not consider mentally free. They're
right.
miserable as hell.
Yeah.
So money does not bring freedom. Mm-hmm. Money can free the body to move. Mm-hmm. But if the mind's not free, then the body can't move because the mind is the selector. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to freedom, we understand that it's mental freedom, freedom to choose, free will. Free will is the key. Mm-hmm. And as you start to set these big goals, you'll start to be introduced to the other self, like the other version of yourself is capable of becoming a bigger straw. And that's good.
That is good. I like that. So why the 1 year time frame then? Why do you use 1 year?
Because it keeps you focused. Mm-hmm. I think when you give yourself too much time to accomplish things, you can kind of start pissing around.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's easy to track things when it's like kind of in your face all the time.
Yeah.
So when I first had my 30-day year, like I set the goal of having a 30-day year, I set it in 12 months increments. So what you're really doing is you're making an agreement with that idea. You say, okay, little idea, like you can move through me.
Yeah.
Like you can be my life. I'm going to trade this life for this life. Like the word sacrifice is give up something of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. So if you are a person that's setting the sustaining goals, well, you're not growing. Mm-hmm. So you're not giving up anything. You're just fighting for what you've got. Mm-hmm. And you might be enjoying it, but man, the grass, could be greener on the other side. So as you start to understand that you are designed to multiply, you are designed to go as big as you can, but it's your thoughts that govern how big you go.
Yeah.
So when you commit to a 12-month period, you are making that agreement. I'm going to dedicate the next 12 months of my life to that goal. Mm-hmm. When I crossed and I didn't hit it, now I had growth in that year, but I didn't hit the goal of the 100K a month. Mm-hmm. Then I just recommitted for another 12 months. And then those 12 months passed, and then I didn't hit it again, but I grew more. And then I recommitted again. And then 7 months into that year, voila, there it was.
What do you think needed to change to get you to that like final hurdle to actually achieve it?
Oh, I had to become the man that could naturally produce that.
Naturally produce it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you could use the weightlifting analogy where, you're not just going to walk in the gym and lift 400 pounds.
Right. Yeah,
right?
You build up to that.
Yeah, you build up. Now, how fast you can build up, like the 30-day year philosophy is like taking steroids. So you could probably start lifting it a lot sooner than, than the other, than without them. But you want to understand that it's progressive. So when you set the 30-day year, the key is asking yourself, well, who's the man, woman, or person that is naturally producing that goal?
Yeah.
And it's all about awareness. And you can only get awareness through experience. You don't get awareness through thought. You get it through experience.
Right.
So your awareness can only grow now. You cannot do tomorrow's growth today. You can only do this moment's growth in this moment.
Right, exactly. And I hope that in some ways this kind of philosophy around goal setting kind of frees people a little bit. Because I know at our seminars, sometimes people get really hung up on what the goal is. And I know you've connected like a money amount to that. And what's the reason behind that? Because that's also a common question we've been asked a lot. Like, why are goals always money-based? Or why are they, or how do I even choose a number? In this case, we're just telling you just 12x. Just choose a 12x. Just go for the infinite side of yourself. Multiply yourself by 12 times. We live in a world and society that has 12 months in a year, and that's kind of why we've chosen that. But what's your answer to some of those questions? Like, why money, and why 12x?
Yeah, well, I chose money because money's measurable.
Right.
And money is compensation for the quality or quantity of a service.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we can improve the quality or the quantity of a service, which would constitute growth,
Mm-hmm.
then we will be compensated for that increase in quality or that increase in quantity. So I like money because it's measurable, because it's saying it's literally your report card
Mm-hmm.
on, are you actually growing? Do people find value in this? Have you taken ownership of what you're serving? Because there's a lot of people that are great at what they do, but then they don't charge very much. And there's some people that are absolutely horrific at what they do, and they're trying to charge too much. They're terrible.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Then they get bad reviews on Google and stuff.
Right.
Or they get good ones, either one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I chose money and time. So I chose the time piece, the 12-month commitments, because it's enough. Like, you can track a year, like you can commit and you can focus up on that, and you can see the progress over a year.
Yeah.
So in my first year, I saw progress. Like, I went from $5,000. I had a few $20,000 months in there.
Yeah.
I had a $35,000 month, and I had a $65,000 month.
Yeah.
Like, it was huge. I 13x'd my income. Like, it was amazing.
That is amazing.
And then I went down to $5,000 months again. So it was all over, but there was always growth. In my second year, I had a $94,000 month. I had $55,000 months. Like, I had $20,000 months again. Like, it was just all over the map. And then eventually it just settled at the new norm. But what people gotta understand about goals is that, generally speaking, when someone sets a goal, it's the furthest out they've ever thought. And what happens to us when we get to the edge of a cliff? We get scared.
Yeah, you get scared, for sure.
That's right. So that's where a vision can start to help a person. Sure, go out to your 30-day year goal, but then start to play even more. Say, well, what would happen if I did that again?
Yeah.
And now you're getting into deafness of purpose work. Now you're getting into like life's work. Now you're getting into like 40-year goals. Like, you're looking way further out. Most people never look beyond the end of their nose. And they can't figure out why they're miserable. I can tell them why they're miserable. They're not doing things they enjoy.
Right. So would you say baked into this whole thing is this like sense of like creating a body of work then? Like, it's like a labor of love. It's like finding your true talent or passion or unfolding what that is at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
I think if you want to be happy, then,
yes.
I hope that for everybody. Yeah, I do hope that people find that labor of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found it, so I have never worked a day in my life since.
You said in your first year of setting a 30-day year goal, which was $100,000 a month, like consistently, you said on 1 month you hit 65,000. What was that like?
Oh, that was spectacular.
I'm sure it was. But
Actually,
tell us more.
There was the $65,000 month was amazing, but actually there was, so I set my 30-day a year goal in May of 2017.
Yeah.
And in November of 2017,
Our first workshop
on November 30th, did $20,000
Yeah.
that day, that night, from that talk.
Right. 4 clients.
Yes, because it was $5,000 a client. And then over the course of the next 48 hours, I 3 more people enrolled. So I did $35,000 in 48 hours. But the wild thing is I did $20,000 in that like 90 minutes. Now, to put that in perspective, I was a carpenter at the time, and that day I installed a kitchen, and I was earning around $50 an hour, and I made $400 for 8 hours work. And then that night, I went and did a talk, which I was terrified to do, but I wanted to do. And in that 90 minutes, I had made $20,000. So I thought to myself, wow.
Yeah, that's significant.
Well, it's huge. I never thought nor experienced you could earn that much money so quickly, because all my other forms of making money was time for money.
Yeah.
So I'd give you an hour, you give me $50. I give you 2 hours, you give me $100. Give you 3 hours, you give me $150. So to go out and talk, and just talk for 90 minutes, and have people really enjoy what I was saying, and then earn $20,000 was illuminating. And I thought to myself, man, I want to do one of these talks every day.
Of course. I know, you still do. I know. Yeah.
And then you and I started to book in every month where we do a talk, and that's what really started to move the needle. So when I had the $65,000 month, that came from a couple talks, a few talks that went back to back. I attracted this lady named Megan out of Winnipeg, and she was enjoying what I was saying, and she said, hey, come and talk to a bunch of people. I've got a bunch of people who'd love to hear this. And from that, I made 13 sales, and it was just 13 $5,000 sales, and I made $65,000 that month. And I actually quit my job, so I was what I call an evenings and weekend warrior when it came to this speaking stuff and mentorship stuff.
Yeah.
And I never quit my job mentally until February 21st, 2018. So from May to February, like I was doing evenings and weekends. And
I also want to point out that was the same month we had our second daughter.
Yeah.
I had just had a baby. So I was like a little nervous when you were like, I'm coming off the payroll.
I'm quitting. Yeah, I'm quitting. Like, take me off the check, you know?
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking.
But, I had a family, and I had to get that income up. And at that time, we were holding pretty firm at like the $20,000. And I had enough experiences where I was like, wow, this is working. This 30-day year philosophy stuff, it's flipping working. And when I quit, when I let go of my current form of earning money, boom, that's when I had...
That's right.
Massive
But you
change.
also had your back against the wall too. Like you had to earn money.
You always got to put your back against the wall. You got to keep...
There was pressure.
I call it now a healthy pressure.
A healthy pressure.
Yeah.
At the time, and sometimes ignorance is your friend through this whole thing because like, it does seem wildly, I guess, irresponsible maybe to like quit your job right as your wife has a baby. But I always had this faith in you that you would like rise to the occasion. And maybe that was like naivete, but I always trusted that you would figure it out.
Yeah, and since then I've seen so many people do it.
Yeah.
Like,
and that grows your faith, builds your faith in the whole premise of it.
That's right. And if you look, we in the modern world today, we listen to a lot of leaders, and there's politicians out there, and there's celebrities, and there's all these there's business people, and there's all these people that we listen to and we admire or envy or hate or whatever the attitude is towards them. But at the end of the day, we do live in the world of the dreamer.
We do.
And
I agree with that.
There's something in all of us. I think envy comes from when we see someone else multiplying, and we would like to have that.
Yes.
Jack and I had a friend, and this friend of ours said to me one day, I suffer from jealousy real bad. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, at least now you know what you want.
Totally.
Right? Mm-hmm. The problem is that if you haven't discovered your personal power, that you can have it, that's where envy can become very dark. So a lot of people think they got to steal it, they got to covet it, they got to do
right.
that's
That
the
they
inversion.
can't. That's right. That they can't create it for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what's such a nerdy thing for me is that I've felt those pangs before, where I'm like, oh man, like I want that. I want that in our business. I want to see that happening.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if I just sit down and actually just schedule that time in to do it, it happens. It's like, why didn't I just schedule it in a year ago? instead of waiting for myself to get annoyed by it. So it's so funny. This is
Yeah.
just a quick off topic thing, but like you and I have definitely interfaced conflict as this is all unfolded. And almost every time it could be solved with just rescheduling something, making the time for each other, or like you forgot to pick up Abby, or we just didn't do the thing we said we were going to do.
Well, you forgot to pick up that.
Well, yeah.
Just joking.
Yeah, I think we both forgot. But, you know,
more
things like
accurate.
that. But like it's always just comes back to making the time for the thing you want,
Right.
right? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all just very interesting. So it seems that like at least in the first year of you like really buying into this whole
It's
philosophy,
a wild ride.
it is a wild ride, isn't it? But it's just your goal was driving your action.
Yeah.
It was like it was almost like you had to suspend yourself from it and you had to let this new energy in, because I know when you hit that 65 grand month, I remember it. I remember when you did it. And I was like, wow, like he really pulled it off. Like
yeah.
you really must want to do this.
I had such growth that, you know, my mentor at the time, Bob Proctor, he called me on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in May of 2018. So a year
after.
Yeah. Like on the nose, a year after. And,
Yeah.
and he had witnessed a lot of this growth, like
Yeah.
what I would consider, you know, a quantum leap.
Yeah.
And when he called, he said, I'll just never forget the call. And that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it was just so impactful for me. And it contained truths that I only later would discover, like the power of what he said. And when he called me to congratulate me. And that meant the world to me because I was totally obsessed with this guy. And he said, are you going to go for another quantum leap? Now, at that time, I'd had 13x income in certain months. You know, I had serious growth. And I said, to be honest, Bob, I don't know, man.
Like it was scary.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, there was a lot of, like this whole year, I felt like I had 4 horses tied to each limb and I was just getting shredded apart. Like everything was getting challenged in me.
Yeah.
My belief system, my behavior, how I walked, how I talked, how I dressed, like my whole world was getting ripped apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if I got it in me. I felt like maybe I needed to go, you know, like into a monastery for a month to recover or something.
Yeah.
And then he said something. Yeah, and you know, he said something to me that like, oh man, is this so true? He said, well, just so you know, Dave, even if you lived in a perpetual state of quantum leap,
Mm-hmm.
you'd still never scratch the surface on your potential.
Right.
Because our potential is produced through our goals.
Yes.
And if the valve is more open, more life will flow through.
Mm-hmm.
Close the valve, less life
Yeah.
flows through.
Yeah.
And then he said something to me. He's like, your future is beyond the scope of your imagination. Now, when he said that, I intellectually heard it, but emotionally, like it was, he made me curious. Like, oh, that sounds cool.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But the coming years unfolded that truth, and he is right. You know, when I sat in that seminar room in 2017 in May, and I wrote that number and that life, I'm so happy if I earn $100,000 a month mentoring people all over the world with this information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really didn't know what that meant. It was just words on a paper. And if you go back into the Bible, it says, you know, first there was the Word. And contained in every word and contained in every idea is a life.
Mm-hmm.
And inside every idea, there's a lifestyle. And inside every lifestyle, there's a person living it and experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
So as I started to progress, this $100,000, like actually experiencing a 30-day year, was so much better than I ever could have imagined. The gifts that came to me were not financial. Financial gifts wouldn't even be at the top of the list.
Right.
Peace of mind,
Mm-hmm.
joy, labor of love,
Mm-hmm. Faith.
faith, understanding, communication, sleep,
Yeah.
you know, focus, the ability to concentrate. the discipline that has started to bring into my life is just immeasurable. And he was right. The future is beyond the scope of the imagination. And, God bless him. And he was just a dynamo. I was on a bunch of podcasts recently, and a lot of people were asking me the same question. What's the greatest lesson Bob Proctor ever taught you? And the first time I was asked those, the first couple times I was asked those questions, my answer was like, I become what I think about, and, shit like that. And then I started thinking to myself, well, if I'm going to get asked this question, I should probably think about it. On podcasts, they put you on the spot, and sometimes some bullshit come out of your mouth. And, that's why a lot of the podcasts are bullshit. And so I was like, if I'm going to be asked this question, I'm actually going to think about it.
Yeah. So
I sat after the second podcast. I said, I don't like how I'm answering that. So I said, what is the greatest lesson he taught me? Mm-hmm. And after a bit of contemplation, my answer is, he taught me how to set goals. He taught me how to set goals. To start to fantasize about living a different way, distributing to others in a different way, finding out more about yourself, growing exponentially, getting harmony with the laws of the universe. Mm-hmm. Because the purpose of a goal is actually to get a human being. A goal is a spiritual seed that contains a life and a lifestyle and a person inside of it. Mm-hmm. So as you start to set goals, your goals actually get you in harmony with the spiritual laws of your being. Bigger the goal, the more expression.
Right. It's just like a foundation or a way to begin asking more of yourself. And
that's right.
Everybody intuitively knows that that's a good thing. That feels good. It feels good to know that people want more from you because they know that you have something to give, that you have something more than meets the eye. That is yet to be expressed.
Yeah.
I know that when we truly teamed up, which would have been more like the fall of 2019, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We kind of partnered up, started working together. And
it took me 2 years to recruit you.
Yeah. Well, I needed to make sure you were a winning horse. I wasn't sure.
She wasn't going to bet on a loser.
No, exactly. I was working for. I got to promote John Legend and the Roots and Lauryn Hill. And I'm going to drop that to promote a schmoonie.
John Legend to Dave Conway. Wah, wah.
Exactly.
The mayor of Loser Town.
But what I started to see in you was a super incredible talent. Number one, that you were obsessed with this kind of material, obsessed, to the point of maybe lunacy. But you can also help people get results. And I could witness this, and I could see that you could actually transfer belief into other people. And then I knew you were a good coach. I knew you were worth betting on, because it's one thing to just love something, but if you can't actually move it forward into another person, well, then there's just more to be learned and understood. And you have this natural gift for that. I've seen it. It's all around us all the time. The messages we get from people, the results people get from your mentorship, I've never seen anything like it personally. So I knew I wasn't taking a massive risk in that. I knew you could do what you said you wanted to do, which at that time was the One Sale a Day Club. And you had a really simple goal. You're like, I want 100 clients at 10 grand, and I'm going to help them sell, and I'm going to help them grow their businesses. I'm going to help them understand themselves better. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what we created a plan to do. We booked an event space every month. COVID shut everything down, so we just quickly pivoted it all digital. Thank goodness that we were able to do that, and we're able to continue on with the mission. And I remember when we hit the goal officially, it would have been maybe July or August of 2020. We didn't even know we'd hit it. It was weeks after.
Too busy working on it.
We were too busy. And our chief of staff of Amelia actually did a finance meeting with us, and she's like, yeah, we did it. And we were like, oh, that's good. It was very anticlimactic. It's a 3-year goal. I didn't even really buy into it until it was year 2.5, I guess. Year 2 for sure. But you'd been working at this for a long time. But it was such a non-event when it happened.
Yeah.
And there's a big lesson in that, because it's really not about earning $100K a month. It's not about hitting that 1.4 million in the business. It wasn't about that at all. It was actually just about loving the work and helping the people and seeing the results pour through the mentorships and the work. It's just about the work.
Yeah, there's 3 things that I think you want to fall in love with if you want to live in an opulent life. The first thing you want to fall in love with is let yourself fall in love with the goal.
Yeah.
Like, let yourself fall in love with the idea of exponential growth. Like, wowee. Let yourself fall in love with that idea.
But it's deeper than that even, Dave. It's like about what the goal means. Like even when maybe you should recite your way of writing goals, because it's really powerful how you've done it, because there's a money number attached to it. But then there's also an impact attached to it. And I know for myself, when I read my goal cards and I read the part about the impact I want to make, it turns on my brain. Like my brain starts chugging away. And I'm like, oh, that means I can do this. That means I should do that. That means I could try this thing. Or it gets me thinking differently about leadership, about my team, about service delivery.
Would be the purpose work. Like,
yeah. But that's what the goal does for me.
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is fall in love with the goal itself. Like let yourself fall in love with the idea. Let yourself fall in love with just living that way. Mm-hmm. Then the second idea you want to fall in love with is fall in love with the idea of service.
Yeah.
Like fall in love with the idea of serving people at a higher quality or quantity. And folks, there's nothing stopping a person from increasing their quality.
Nothing.
Like just a little more effort will increase your quality. Now, quantity is, a fence a lot have to jump over. But quality, no. Like nothing's stopping you from getting better. Nothing.
Like today.
Yeah, right now. Like you could write down 10 things that you could do, even one thing that you could do to make yourself better at serving people. Mm-hmm. And then the third is fall in love with the idea of refining yourself to serve better.
Yeah.
So fall in love with the idea of personal development. Fall in love with the idea of developing yourself into the man, woman, or person that is living and producing the life that they desire to live and produce. Mm-hmm. So you fall in love with the goal. The goal's the motive. Then you fall in love with the idea of serving people because your goal is going to be received through the service of people. And then the third is get so darn good at serving those people that number one and number two just take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of a goal. So in the earlier days, when I started doing this form of goal setting, I really just wanted to get the hell away from my current results. So that was a strong motivator. Like, don't think that, not enjoying yourself isn't a good enough motivator. It's a very strong motivator. Mm-hmm. But then in times, in the beginning, I used to invest in personal development. I gave Bob Proctor like over $200,000 in my first 12 months, which is insane. How does a carb burning $5,000 a month do that? Well, then when you start understanding how the universe is supportive, you'll know. But in that first year, I was investing in myself for myself. I was trying to develop myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when this switch happened. I really don't. But then I started to develop myself for you. I started to develop myself for that person that I had not met yet. Mm-hmm. And that started to become my obsession. Mm. How far can I take this guy? Mm-hmm. How good can I get at teaching these ideas? Can I get so good at it that I could communicate to someone and they could be with me for 5 minutes and just like that, their life's never going to be the same? Mm. And that became my obsession. So I stopped doing things for myself and I started doing them for others. And that's when I really started to experience some, not just financial growth, I started to experience some significant spiritual and mental growth and emotional.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I know I've looked at you on stages before and I just I don't even see you. I'm like, I just see the summation of a whole lot of auto-suggestion and how you've baked just different ideas into yourself. And now those ideas are part of you.
Mm. Yeah, I'm like a nice chocolate cake.
You're just a bunch of ingredients, Dave.
Very tasty, very tasty.
Well, this is very enlightening. So I feel like the 30-day year has taken all the pressure off goal setting for anyone listening because all you do is go for 12x.
Just go for it.
Just go for 12x. Do you have a goal card with you by chance?
Yeah.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Will you share it with us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so happy and grateful now, like how I write my goals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just to give people an example.
Yeah, I can give everybody the first, like when I started setting them this way or writing them this way. So if you got your goal, then write it down like this. My first goal is the $100,000 a month. So happy and grateful now that I earn $100,000 a month with ease, style, and grace. So I don't want it with working like a dog and grinding and, you know, all those other ideas that people sell you, which are total bullshit when they are. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I earn $100,000 a month with ease, style, and grace, mentoring people all over the world. Our clients and team are experiencing phenomenal results from our world-class mentorship, products, and services. My growth and consistency perpetually create quantum leaps for myself and everyone I come in contact with. It is done, and I love it.
I love it too. That's
and
a
I
good
want
goal.
more, baby.
Okay, one more thing about goals before we jump off. Talk to me about goal card sprinkles, because I know that this is a common thing that we talk about at a lot of our seminars. Can you explain that quickly?
Yeah. So, for example, like the 30-year idea, well, every idea contains more ideas. Right? So if you go into a house, like how many houses in the world there is, but I'm assuming there's like 1 billion of them.
Quite a few.
Yeah. So there's 1 billion different houses, right? Like
Yeah.
you can change the paint in a room. You can change the kitchen setup. You can change the bathrooms. How many? So every idea contains more ideas. So if you want to get a leg up on motivation and things that you desire, when I started to set my goals, I would what I call sprinkling the goal card. So I'd have the $100,000 a month idea, doing certain work in a certain way, and then what I'd do is I'd sprinkle it. So at that time, I wanted to get a Jaguar car. That was like my dream car. I wanted to take my family on a nice trip, so I'd put that in there. I wanted to improve as a speaker, so I'd sprinkle these little motives, and something really cool starts to happen. As you start to progress, you literally start to manifest or bring those things into your life. So you start scratching things off your goal card. And what it does, it builds a lot of faith and a lot of confidence, because you're like, whoa, I am changing. Like I am changing. Like my income's going up. I'm getting better. My thinking is becoming more clear and orderly.
Yeah.
And you literally, in front of your own eyes, start to see you bringing new things into your life. And that's what I call sprinkling the goal card. So take your 30-day year idea, but then go deeper.
Right.
What does that contain? Do you want more love in your life? You want more joy in your life? You want more harmony in your home? Write it down. You know, I was on a...
Well, we did say on a other episode that we like bougie shit.
Yeah,
so
free and honest
this is your
thinkers
chance
like
to
bougie
get some
shit.
of that bougie stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you want a Chanel
Rolex
bag,
watch.
a Rolex, a Jaguar, you just, and you know, on our cards, we leave space actually for people to write those things in.
Yeah,
You
new
just write them
home.
down. New home, wherever it is. Yeah.
That's right. A second home, a third home,
Well,
whatever.
because you can also build an image around that too, right?
That's right. That's right. So it's the image building that's key. You know, I was on a I think it was an Instagram live a couple days ago, and the lady I was on there, Kim, she's pretty fit. And there's a bunch of we're talking about mindset, and there's people in the chat talking about, you know, one guy asked her, girl or guy said, how do you get a 6-pack? And it wasn't talking about the beer, it was talking about the abs. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it's kind of funny why no one's ever asked me how I got my 1-pack. You know?
It's
Guess
not
it's
quite
not desirable.
It's not desirable. It's not an emotionalized want yet, unfortunately, Dave. But
Yeah, no
That's
one
all
wants
good.
that one. Everyone's got that one. They don't want.
they don't want that one. That's so funny.
And only until it becomes unacceptable will you change it.
That's right. Well, I think it's time to just set a goal, hey?
Yeah.
It's just time to set a goal. As simple as that. Thanks for listening to the 30-Day Year podcast. If you want more like this, hit subscribe. And to connect with us, visit conwaymentorship.com. Before our next podcast, all you have to do is set your goal. Follow Dave's example, write from the podcast, choose your sprinkles, and get it on paper.
Produced at
Sound Lounge by T-Bone.